Today we're going to be making our center medallions for the Hexie Love Actually blanket. We're going to start with a slip knot. The way I make my slip knot is I drape my tail over the front of my fingers. I take the other end, I make an X, I turn my hand over, and I pull that through. Okay, now we're going to put our hook through that. Tighten that up, not too tight. In our instructions for round 1, she tells us we're going to chain 3. So we'll chain 1, 2, 3, and then she wants us to do 11 double crochets in the 3rd chain from the hook. So that is going to be your 3rd chain. You never count the one that's on the hook, you count below it. So 1, 2, 3. We're going to do our 11 double crochets into there. So we yarn over. And there's a couple ways you can go into your chain. I prefer to go under that first loop and then underneath the back bump. I'll show you that again. So under the first loop and the back bump as well. We're going to pull up a strand and then we're going to do 1 and 2. All right, so 2 double crochets, 3, and as you get going, you can see that the hole is widening up there. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. So that should make for what looks like a total of 12. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. All right, so now we're going to slip stitch into the top of that 3rd chain. Okay. There is one other way that you can make the beginning part of your medallion that does not start with a chain 3. It's called a magic circle. It's what I use to make mine. If you don't know how to do a magic circle, I'll cover that real quickly here. It's a little bit fiddlier than working in through the first chain, but it closes up that center hole a lot tighter, as you can see here, and I like that. So we start out with the same idea as the slip knot. Again, so my tail's in front, I cross over, and then I'm gonna pull that loop through. Now I'm gonna put my hook through this loop, and I'm going to I'm gonna chain 1, 2, 3, okay? Now, so we've got this hole here, my tail is over here, and I've got the beginning chain. I'm going to do 11 double crochets underneath these 2 strands here. So we're gonna do 1, 2, 3, 4, 11. Okay, so I should have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. All right, so now I'm gonna pull that tail, and hopefully it should still be on the outside. I'm gonna pull that tail, and that closes up that center into a nice tight little medallion. Okay, so now we're gonna do just like we did previously, and we're gonna slip stitch into that first, or into the 3rd stitch of that chain that we made. Okay, so from here on we're gonna follow her instructions. So we're gonna chain 2, And then we're gonna do 2 double crochets in every stitch around. So we're gonna skip the stitch that this is coming out of, and we're gonna go into this one. So we've got our yarn over, and we're gonna do 2 double crochets into that same stitch. And we're gonna do that all the way around. Okay, now we're gonna start with round 3. So we've got our finished medallion here. I'm gonna make a slip knot with my second color. And I'm actually going to put my hook into my medallion first before I put my slip knot onto it. So she wants us to go in between the pairs. So not into the pair, but in between the pair, if you can see that. So we're gonna go into any space between the 2 pairs. I'm gonna stick my hook in, and then I'm going to put my slip knot onto that and pull that through. And then I'm going to do a chain to secure that, all right? So now we're going to do 2 chains, and then she wants us to do a double crochet into the same space. If I can get my hook, come on. There we go. All right, so we've got essentially our chain and a double crochet in the same space. All right, now we're going to do 3 double crochets into each between space. So you can see that I've got my chain and double crochet, and then here's the pair from the row below, and then there's the 3. So we're going to do that all the way around. Okay, when you come to a tail, you can hide it. If you hold it on the back side, you can actually put your hook underneath the tail, and then that kind of traps that in there. I only do that just for this one space, and then I let him hang so we can weave him in later. So now he gets put out of the way, and we finish out. All right, so there is our final triple or 3 double crochets together. So now we're going to do a slip stitch into the top of that turning chain, and we have our completed medallion. So we're going to again cut, so we have 4 to 6 inches of that guy, and pull that through. All right, so now I'm going to show you a quick little primer on how to weave in your ends. So I have a very sharp needle, if you can see that. It's got a big eye. Let's see if there we go. It's got a big eye and a very sharp point. That is my preferred needle for weaving in ends. Okay, so let's start with our center. So we're going to thread our needle, and we can pull that as tight as possible. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my sharp needle, and I'm actually going to finish feeding this around. So I'm going to go around, literally splitting the stitches. I kind of pinch that tight with my fingers so it doesn't get distorted. And that makes it really nice and tight. And then I'm going to go back in. I'm not going to go in exactly the same place, but I'm going to go in a little bit to the side or ahead or behind, and I'm going to go back through the way I just came, wiggling my needle through the stitch that I just pulled through. And then I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to pull that through, and voila. So we will finish each of our ends in that same manner, so that we're going to use our nice sharp needle to weave in all of those. When we have one of these ends that we've crocheted over, you can weave that underneath that pocket right there, and then feed that back through. I really like this method because it creates a very secure end. I rarely ever have any ends come out when I use this method. You will want to do it on the back side, so make sure that when you're weaving in your ends that you are on the back side. To weave in this very last one, I'm going to feed my tail back through the stitch that we did our slip stitch through, and pull that, so that closes that up. Then I'm going to come into the back and I'm going to go down through here. And you know what I didn't do? I did not do my last double crochet there, did I? I did not. So we're gonna finish this guy out. So make sure you do your last double crochet to make sure you have 3 double crochets in that final space. Okay, there we go. So now we can weave that in. So again, we're going to go in through that and around, and then finally weave this down through. All right, and now we can clip those all very closely. And there we have our finished center medallion. Okay, now we're going to do our border around our finished center medallion. So I've got my border color, and I'm going to make a slip knot. And just like we've done before, we're going to make that slip knot and then pull it through once we put our hook in. So we're going to follow, for this very first border, we're going to follow her instructions. When we do this in class, I'm going to have you start at a different position. But for this first round, we're going to follow exactly what she says. So we are going to put our hook in the center of any of the 3 double crochets. So it doesn't matter which one, I'm just going to go in this one. I've got my hook under both of the loops. I'm going to pull my slip knot through and crochet, and chain 2, excuse me. Okay, so now we're gonna double crochet in the next stitch. I've trapped, you can see I've trapped my end under there, so that's secure. Now we're gonna move on to this next set of 3. So we're gonna do 2 double crochets in this first one. We're going to do a double crochet into the next guy, and then we're going to do a chain 2, okay? And we're going to do another crochet, double crochet right into that same space. So we're making our hexies. And now we're going to do 2 double crochets in the following. And then we're going to do a double crochet in each of the following double crochets. So you can kind of see how our points are going to be made with hexagon. So now we're back to our another point. So we're going to do 2 in this guy. And then a double crochet, chain 2, and another double crochet, and then we're going to do 2 double crochets in here. So we're going to finish that pattern all the way around back here, where we will slip stitch into the top of that chain. Okay, so go ahead and get 2 medallions done, and then we're going to get a third one done with our full border on it, and I'll see you in class next Saturday.